You are listening to Hope Alive, streaming live from Hope Restoration Ministries, Kempton Park, South Africa.
It's a God's Love Thursday. Today, as per norm, we always have a guest that share their God's love stories with us. And today we've got a beautiful lady in the studio who joined us today. Her name is Keletso Sister K. Yendo. She is a mentor, a speaker, an author, and a pastor who helps people discover their true identity and purpose in order to live a victorious life. She is the founder and director of Sister K Foundation, a sisterhood which aims to inspire women to embrace their true identity and live purposefully. She is passionate about unifying women and helping them create a sisterhood. She mentors women and encourages them to invest in empowering the girls in their communities. Keletso is a pastor at Grace Bible Church. She believes every believer should know and embrace their identity and purpose in Christ in order to live a victorious life. Should I go further? She is born in QwaQwa, in a village in Free State Province in South Africa. She is the second of 5 children born to Mr. and Mrs. Libeko. Despite her humble beginnings, Keletso persevered and became successful in the workplace, business, academia, and ministry. Keletso had a successful career in corporate South Africa for 13 years in the financial service industry. She is now a partner and account manager at the South Africanist, a strategic and creative agency. She serves on the board and is an ambassador of the South Africanist non-profit company, a movement which campaigns for positive community social impact. She inspires many through her talks and workshops. Keletso has spoken at local and international platforms such as the National Association of Child Care Workers. We have her right here in the studio. She's now married, by the way, to Jesse Yende with 2 children. When relaxing, you can find her hiking on a beautiful mountain, on her couch, or somewhere outdoors, reading or spending time with her best friend, who also happens to be her husband. Wow. Thank you so much. She's also an author. The bio is so endless. It is so long, but we'll get to know her. For now, let's just congratulate her and give her a round of applause. Yeah. You know, what a powerhouse. What a powerhouse indeed we have in the studio. She is joining us live from Eastern Cape telephonically. She's going to be giving us a story on our God's Love Thursday today. Sister K, good morning.
A very good morning to you and all the ladies there in studio, and a blessed morning to all the listeners of Hope Alive FM.
Yes, thank you so much. A very good morning to you, Sister K, and welcome to the talk right here on Hope Alive radio station.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be chatting with you ladies this morning, and I hope that our listeners will be blessed by what I have to share as well.
Indeed, they will be blessed. Such a beautiful profile there that we just read. You are indeed a powerhouse, and we are so looking forward to hear the stories that God has unpacked in your life for us. One of the things that you write here is that you want to inspire us. You want to stir up our hope in our. You want to stir hope in people's hearts in the season which is characterized by the loss of your loved ones. You know, do you want to start it from there? Maybe how we can your childhood, you know, growing up in QwaQwa. Maybe take us from there before we come into the challenges that you later faced in life.
All right. No, I'm very happy to do that. Well, like you said when you read my bio, I was born in QwaQwa. I call it a village. Some people don't like me calling it a village, but it's an informal settlement in the Eastern Free State. That's why I was born in humble beginnings in a clinic there. But I was blessed in that my family, my mom and my dad were both teachers. So in terms of humble beginnings, I really had a blessing there in that education was really one of the values that my parents instilled in us. And that's a value that I still hold very highly in regard. And to that effect, I'm still a student even today, 7 degrees, university degrees later. So I really had what one would consider a normal upbringing, and our family later on moved to the town of Bethlehem, and that's where I did my high schooling. It was a very interesting experience, high school, because I went to a high school called Wittenberg High School, and our class, that was in 1997, just a few years post-apartheid, and our class was actually the first English class to be introduced into that school, and it so happened that it was the only black class as well. So I think I've learned a little bit of resilience from my earlier formative years in that context as well, because I found myself in an environment where you really made to feel like you are not welcome, because it was still so new to everyone. So that was my high schooling, and then I went to Johannesburg to pursue my tertiary education, and I studied, and then I worked a couple of years in Johannesburg until I got an opportunity to move down here to Cape Town. And I think when I was here in Cape Town, that's really where now the story that we be focusing on today really, really starts. And that would be from when I met my husband and got married. So I think that's a little bit, gives you a little bit of a better idea in terms of my background. And then we'll just go into the story then.
All right. With the story that says here, later on, the story is actually based on the book, which we're going to talk about it later on the show. You're saying there was a loss of your loved one, your baby, that was obviously, is it after you've married?
Yes. So when I moved to Cape Town a couple of years in Cape Town, I met my husband at church and we got married. So what I needed to mention in my background is that I come from a family of 7, including my parents. So we're 3 girls and 2 boys. So when I got married, I always had a dream of having a big family because, wow, I also come from a big family. So when I got married, my husband already had 2 kids. So mathematics said, if I have 3 kids with my husband, we're going to have the same family that I had. We're going to have 5 kids and 2 parents. So you can imagine, when I got married, my dream of a big family was really beginning to take shape. To my disappointment, a few years into marriage, when my husband and I now decided, yay, let's grow this family and have more children, I actually managed to conceive, and I had what one would call a relatively normal pregnancy. The pregnancy was progressing well. And what happened is, on a Thursday, this was in July 2018, I consulted with my gynae like we normally did. I was 39 weeks pregnant, so I was now seeing him like on a weekly basis. So we consulted on a Thursday, and everything was fine until the Sunday, which was literally 3 days later. It was a normal day, nothing out of the ordinary. I went to church like I usually do. The only thing that was different about this day is that I hadn't felt my baby move. Her name was Nombuso, and we nicknamed her Boo Boo. So you hear me talking about Boo Boo, just know that. I think it's important to name babies. It's just something that I'm passionate about and to talk about their names when we mention them. So Boo Boo hadn't moved throughout the service on that particular Sunday, which I found quite awkward or a bit unusual, because she would leap during praise and worship. She loved attending church with mommy. Like when we were at church, I knew she was pregnant. I mean, she was present and she would be there with me. So after the service, I just said to Habi, you know what? I haven't felt Boo Boo move. This is a bit unusual. So let's just go via the hospital on our way home. So we went to the hospital, and my husband was still cracking his normal jokes. We were not alarmed. I mean, we had been with the doctor just on the Thursday. So we got there, told the nurses why we were there. I just told them I haven't felt movement today, and they sent us to a room, and the nurse used a Doppler to try and detect the heartbeat. And she said she can't detect the heartbeat. Probably it's because of how the baby is positioned. Just in retrospect, I'm just realizing, as a nurse, you're not allowed to give a patient a diagnosis. So that's what she said. And then she said she'll get a doctor to come and do a proper scan. We are waiting for the doctor. We're still laughing. We're cracking jokes. We're not alarmed. I mean, everything was fine just on Thursday. The doctor came and he did a scan, and he said the most dreaded words that no parent ever wants to hear. There is no heartbeat. I am sorry. And that is when really this journey of loss, which I talk about, started. And since that loss of our daughter, I've also had multiple recurring loss of pregnancies as well. So I think that's the really the heart of the loss that I talk about. It's one of losing a baby, having a baby being born still, with shut eyes, with no noise, just beautiful, perfect, but not moving and not crying. And as well, just subsequent challenges with fertility as well. So that's really what the loss that I talk about also in my book is.
And how did that challenge you in your marriage? Because later on you talk about the challenges with fertility, and the pain of loss. How did it challenge your sense of worth in you as an individual, as a woman, and you as a wife, in you as a daughter-in-law that were expecting, the in-laws were expecting to see the family grow? How did that challenge you in your own personal life?
Yeah, it was a big challenge. I think first of all, as a daughter of the Most High God, a dedicated Christian, one of the things that happens when things like this happen to us is, where is God in all of this? That sense of, God, I'm serving you, I'm faithful, I'm living right. Where are you in this situation? So the first thing that was challenged was my faith. To say, is God still who he says he is? Is he still a good God even when you are going through this? Is he still faithful? That was the biggest blow. That was the biggest challenge that I had to overcome. And then also as a personal level, as a woman that always wanted to have children. Now I've always had this inherent desire to have children. And now it's been added by expectations from society when you get married. Expectations from your parents. We want grandchildren, your in-laws as well as your husband, So that really added much pressure onto me as an individual. And the next question was then, am I still a woman when I am seemingly failing at what should come naturally, or what comes naturally to so many other women? And that's where your self-worth, my self-worth was really challenged. Do I belong here? Am I supposed to be my husband's wife? Am I supposed to be my in-laws daughter-in-law? Yeah, you start suffering from something that seems like an imposter syndrome, where you are in this situation, and instead of embracing where you are and celebrating where you are, you feel like you do not belong. Like there's a sense that you shouldn't be there because you do not deserve to be there. And then obviously that spills over to your marriage as well. Because you start saying hurtful things to your partner, like maybe you should get yourself another wife who will be able to fulfill your dreams also of having a bigger family, because that's something also my husband was very excited about, the idea of having a bigger family. So it affects your being from your faith to your marriage, like you're saying, and your relationship, and just how you interact with the world in general. So those are really the biggest challenges that one faces when you're looking at a loss like this and an ongoing challenge of fertility such as mine.
Oh, what a tragedy. I cannot imagine what you were going through when everything else happened. In your own personal journey, you have spoken about we thank God that this happened when you knew Christ. But between you and your husband, how did you communicate this this painful thing that happened to you, and how did he handle it? As a partner and a best friend in your life.
Yeah, I think I was so blessed in that I have a very understanding and loving husband, and I think the foundation of this is that we both love God. We are both children of God, so that already sets us up to be able to overcome whatever challenges we were facing. So my husband was really supportive. I cannot fault him in any way. He was really understanding. He was really supportive. And if you get to read my book, I dedicated a whole chapter to him. I didn't dedicate the chapter to him. I wrote a whole chapter from his perspective, because what I realized when my husband and I were going through the grief and the healing process was that, actually, men also need as much support as women do.
True.
Because my husband was my number one supporter. And yet, if you look at it in proportion, from everyone else, I was the one that was also receiving the most support. Because people tend to think, oh no, poor woman, she was pregnant for 9 months and now this has happened. But what people do not realize is my child was as much mine as she was my husband.
Yes.
When we realized we were pregnant, he also started dreaming about having a child. When we found out she was a girl, he started dreaming about having a girl child and a daughter. He started dreaming about all the things that he would do with her. So the loss, he suffered as much as I did. So that chapter is really highlighting, saying that we should also support men as much as we do women. And so what helped us in our process is that I was able to see that even in my moment of weakness, I would just ask God sometimes to give me strength so that I can minister to my husband as well. Because, when you are grieving, everything tends to be just about you.
Yeah. Yes.
But through God's grace, I was also able to see, what? My partner is also suffering here. So sometimes, Nami, I just have to put my grief aside and be there for him and ask him how he is doing and ask him how he is feeling. Because through the process, I just noticed and I realized that shame, man, he was also having it hard. So I think having Christ as the center of our marriage and in our home really helped us to get through this together. And if I can say something to couples is to say you can get through it if you stay committed to one another. You can come out of it together. You know, my husband and I still don't have children together, but our marriage is stronger than what it has ever been. Through the tragedies that we shared, we realized that it helped us grow our bond even stronger. So we became closer to each other.
Wow, beautiful. We've got Sister K in the studio having a conversation about the death of her baby, the challenges with fertility, and the loss, the pain of loss that has challenged her sense of worth. Let's take music. We'll be right back. And when we come back, we'll be talking about the book that she wrote thereafter. I never saw her up.
Yes, and we are still in conversation with Sister K, and we are still continuing with our conversation. Sister K, in your book here that is titled "I Never Saw Her Eyes," you continue to go on by saying this book is for people who are faced with daily challenges, and you found strength, and you used her pain to intensify her quest to fulfill her purpose. Are you saying now that through the death of Boo Boo, you found your purpose?
Absolutely. I mean, earlier on, we were talking about the challenges that the loss of my daughter and fertility presented. And one of them was that sense of self-worth. Am I still valuable as a woman in light of the fertility challenges I'm having? And the answer to that really came through a process of rediscovery of identity and purpose. When I started realizing that my purpose is derived from who I am in Christ and from the one who created me, that's when even my healing and my self of worth was restored. I realized that it's not one's achievements or failures that helps them to derive their value. No, your value is derived by the one that created you. So I realized that if my God and my Father is the King of Kings, if He bought me at such an invaluable price that He gave up His Son for Him, surely nobody gives up their life for something that has no value. So I realized through that process of rediscovery of identity and purpose that really only your Creator has the right to put a value on you. And the only way to know your value is to understand who you are in Him and why He created you. Find out and discover what your purpose is.
Thank you so much. Sister K, from my side, having read just like the profile about the book, where you speak about the loss of your child and how your husband also has a whole chapter in it expressing the grief of the child. Is this book only for people who have gone through the similar situation that you have gone through, or this can relate to anyone that has lost a loved one or going through a process of loss of some sort?
The book is absolutely for everyone. And I let me tell you first what inspired me to write the book, and you and the listeners will better understand why I say the book is for everyone. Firstly, I started writing the book during the hard lockdown last year, when the COVID pandemic was happening. So I saw that a lot of people were going through loss. You know, you would hear of people losing multiple family members within a space of weeks and months. So the country was really gripped with grief. And I could identify because I know what grief is like. I know what the pain of loss is. But I saw how I got healed. I really saw how, Jehovah Rapha came through for me. And I wanted to let people know that there is hope. There is life beyond your pain. There is life beyond grief. And not just life, you can even gain from it. So that was my first motivation. The second was having had a miscarriage myself during the pandemic. I also realized, you know what, because of everyone's focus is on people losing their loved ones. Nobody is thinking about that woman or that couple that are going through a pregnancy during the pandemic. Having going through the experience of going alone. I mean, this was the first time in all my pregnancies where I had to go alone to a doctor because visitors are not allowed. Having had that experience of me going to the hospital alone and leaving my husband in the parking lot and having to be the one that goes back to him in the parking lot to say, Barry, there's no heartbeat. I thought, is somebody thinking? Do mothers know that somebody is thinking about them, that somebody recognized their loss, that they shouldn't feel? I felt like I couldn't share about my loss during the pandemic because, wow, people are losing loved ones. But I also lost a loved one. So I also wanted to say to couples who are losing pregnancies to say, even your loss is still valid because we recognize that a loss of pregnancy is not just a loss of a membrane. It's the loss of a life.
True.
Because when you find out you are pregnant, you are already thinking about the personality of your child, how you're going to relate with them. You are already imagining their first birthday, their fifth birthday, their 18th birthday. As a father, you're already imagining walking them down the aisle. You're already imagining their graduation from university. So it's really a loss of a life. So that's the other reason why I wrote the book. So I wanted to share with everyone to say, no matter what kind of loss you are going through, loss is loss and it's painful. And pain is pain and it's painful. We don't have to compare them. It's loss, it's pain, it's painful. It's just painful. That's it. So that's why I wrote the book. And then also I realized, you know what, I've never seen or heard a course or a seminar being advertised that's saying we are going to empower people to be better positioned to support people who are going through loss. So through my experience as well, I saw shame. People didn't know what to say. They didn't know how to support me. And God gave me that grace to realize that, and also to remember, Hori, even me, before I went through that loss on such a personal level, I was not necessarily the best supporter either because I never knew also what to say or what to do. So part of writing the book also, and that's why I say the book is for everyone. I've got a chapter in the book that I dedicate to the supporters of the ones who are rallying behind the people who are going through loss. And I try to show both the supporter and the mourner their perspective. Like I say to the mourner, forgive the supporter when they say the wrong thing, because you need to also realize that maybe your trauma is too much for them to handle, because there's a price for supporting someone. And what happens sometimes is that your trauma triggers something that they also went through that they might not have necessarily dealt with in the best way in the past. So as a mourner, we need to extend grace to the supporter and realize there is no university that teaches people how to support. Definitely. And even if there was, it would still not be very effective because mourners are different.
Yeah, not the same. Yes.
Mourners are different. If they teach you that this is what you must say, it can work for mourner A, but not for mourner B.
True.
It can be effective for one mourner and not the other. So I just encourage the mourners also to say, hey, Bona, it's not easy what your supporters are also going through. And to the supporter also to say, what you say, this is how it interpreted through the eyes of grief. If I'm grieving and you say ABC to me, this is what it means. So just to encourage the supporter as well to be a little bit more sensitive in how they try to encourage those who are mourning. So when I say the book is for everyone, it's for two reasons. The first reason is we will all, unfortunately, at some point of our lives, suffer loss ourselves. And we will all, at some point in our lives, support people who are suffering due to loss. So whether or not you have experienced loss already, this book is for you, because there will be a day when you need to support someone and you will need to go and check what did Sister K advise in that chapter of support in the book. And if you are going through loss yourself, it's also to encourage you to say, here's someone who can relate to what I'm going through. How did they say they overcame this? So that's why I'm saying, when I say the book is for everyone, I don't just say it because I want people to buy the book. I really mean it, because that is what inspired me to write the book, to equip us how to support each other. And even mourning and loss. During the pandemic, loss of work is a big loss to some people. You know, people slip into depression because they've lost their work. And it also talks to identity and purpose and self-worth, because some people, in the absence of their work, they suffer from those things. So that's why I'm saying you could even equate it to any other challenge in life that you see as a loss. For you to hear my story and how I overcame, because those tools can work for you, whatever situation you find yourself in as well.
Wow. Well, you heard it for yourselves, listeners. The book is not only for people that have been in a situation as Sister K. We all find ourselves having had lost something in life.